Okay, look, I know upon seeing the title to this video, you might think that I'm some sort of Adam fanboy who thinks Adam can do no wrong. But I promise you that's not what this video is about. I'm not here to say that Adam's never been wrong, because I know he has, and I'm not here to belittle anybody giving him legitimate criticism, so just hear me out on this video. So I was looking for a good American TV show. I found Adam Ruins Everything, and that's how I was introduced to that TV show. Now, it's not the greatest show in the world or anything like that, but I do kind of like the premise. Debunking things that people think are true that aren't necessarily true, and being better for that new information. Now again, I'm not here to be some sort of crazy fanboy who thinks that he's never been wrong. I'm well aware he has. As I'm watching an episode, what I actually do is I sit there with my phone to fact check all the facts that he's throwing at me, so that I know whether it's accurate or not accurate. So again, not here to say that Adam's never been wrong, and I'm also not here to belittle any valid criticism. Not only am I not here to do that, but I actually think it's very important that valid criticism is thrown at Adam, especially with the kind of content that he produces, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But for now, another thing I want to say is that I don't know Adam personally. I have no idea if he's like a super nice guy or a really big jerk. He could be either or. So I'm not even trying to convince you that he's a good or bad person necessarily. So what am I here to kind of defend Adam from? Well, first things first. I've noticed that a lot of the critique videos and the criticism other individuals will throw his way are directly pointed or directed at Adam, which makes sense. He's the primary actor of the TV show. He's the person you see the majority of the time. But that's just the thing. He's the actor. And it seems to me that a lot of the things that people are critiquing Adam for aren't really Adam's job. Like, the information and research people are criticizing Adam for, but that's really handled by his research team. And the writing and directing of the actual TV show is primarily handled by the screenwriter and director. Now, if you want to critique Adam's acting, then yeah, that definitely should be aimed at Adam. And I'm sure that he looks stuff up from time to time, but really the research for the show is being done by his research team. I mean, they've shown up in a couple of episodes being recognized as the people doing that research. Now, the next thing is critiques. Now, if you remember, I said that not only do I not mind, but I think it's very necessary that people critique him, especially because of the kind of content he produces. Let me elaborate on that. See, Adam produces informational content, which means that he's producing content that needs to be accurate. So people really need to critique him, because if they don't, then he can get away with being wrong. Not necessarily out of malicious intent, but if he's wrong, people should let him know. And that doesn't go for just Adam. That goes for anybody producing informational content. That includes myself. Look, of course, spoiler alert, I'm human. I'm probably gonna make a mistake sometime in the future. I can pretty much guarantee it. And if I make a mistake on a video, some information is incorrect even though I try to fact check everything or something along those lines, I want to know about it, because I want to fix it. The whole point of this channel is to produce philosophical and accurate informational videos. And if they're not, I need to be able to fix it. Because, again, I'm human, but if I miss it, I really want somebody to tell me, hey, this is not correct, here is why. Now, it's important because information needs to be as accurate as possible. That way people aren't being misled. That's why it's so important, in particular for shows like Adam and channels like my own, to be critiqued, because if another movie or TV show is bad or wrong, of course it's also important to critique it for a whole list of other reasons that I could spend another video on. But if it's bad and people watch it, they won't necessarily be misled or filled with misinformation. They know that they're watching something that's made for fictional purposes. But in the case of Adam's content, if something's incorrect in something that he produces, people could be absorbing misinformation. That's why it's particularly important that shows like Adam Ruins Everything are critiqued. Now, with that being said, here's the thing about a lot of the videos that I see critiquing Adam. It's not that they're critiquing Adam, it's that they're being total jerks about it. I mean, they've called Adam everything from idiot to liar to ugly, and to be honest with you guys, these are only the things that I allow myself to say. They have called him much, much worse. Now, not that I would condone this even if this was the case, but I could understand this kind of reaction a little bit more if, like, everything that Adam ever said was completely incorrect. But again, I know for a fact it's not, because I sit there fact-checking all the facts that he throws at me to see whether they're incorrect or not. And I can tell you that, at the very least, a good chunk of the episodes that I've seen are pretty much, for the most part, correct. Wet wipes, bad idea for your plumbing? Factually correct. Water not being the thing that you should be just gulping down willy-nilly and you should only drink when you're thirsty? Again, correct. Concussions not being completely prevented by an American football helmet? Again, correct. Now, of course, like always, you don't need to take my word for it. I leave my information down in the description below. So, again, I know that Adam's been wrong, and pointing out that he's wrong is a very good thing. But you don't need to, like, dismantle the poor guy just because his research team is human and made a mistake. And this also goes for when he says something that's a political argument or a philosophical argument. If you don't agree with him, that's fine. And if you have a logical argument or a factual argument against his point, that's also great. But don't demonize the guy simply because you have a logical and well-made counter-argument to something that he said. All you really need to do in that circumstance is present your counter-argument. From a philosophical standpoint, it really doesn't increase the validity of whatever it is you're arguing when you're, a jerk about it. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I do not always agree with Adam's controversial videos, but here's the thing. From a philosophical standpoint, when it comes to his controversial videos, as far as I can tell, all he's really doing is presenting his argument, albeit with jokes that don't always land. I'm personally not a fan of his inappropriate jokes, that's just me, although I do like his goofy ones. But besides the point. Point is that he really is just presenting his argument. And one of the ways I see people really trying to tear Adam apart is by saying things like he's trying to deceive or trick people. But here's the thing. There's a difference between deceiving somebody and simply presenting your argument. And as far as I can tell, by all accounts, it's really him just presenting his argument. I mean, he's even putting his resources on the screen as he is giving you whatever information he has, and then presenting the logic along with whatever information he's presenting to you. And I really can't see how anybody can be more transparent than that. I mean, he presented his point of view, he presented his logic, and he presented where he got the information for that logic. I mean, if he was just making stuff up with no resources and trying to convince people that everything he said was true, then okay, yeah, that would definitely be trying to deceive or trick people. But he's not. He's just presenting his own argument. Now, of course, like any other argument, it runs the possibility of being wrong. That's why he has everything there. He has everything we need to go ahead and see, okay, what's correct about this? What isn't correct about this? Then after we sift through it and go through his information, we can be like, okay, this is correct or it's incorrect. And if it's incorrect, we can be like, okay, here is the counter argument, and we will explain why we believe that that argument is incorrect. That's how a philosophical discussion works. But people seem to be pretty convinced that it's just him trying to drastically deceive people. And because of that, people end up being extremely toxic when explaining why they believe that Adam is wrong. And what makes it frustrating for me personally is that a lot of the channels making these videos are of people who are very smart and know what they're talking about. Not all of them. Some of them have no idea what they're talking about. But a lot of them are made by people who are really, really smart. Like, legitimately. They're practically geniuses in some cases in whatever kind of deal that they're discussing or critiquing Adam for. And the reason that it's so frustrating for such smart and intellectual people to be making these kinds of videos is because they don't just limit themselves to Adam. They make a lot of very well made and very informed videos, even when I don't agree with them. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I tend to try to look at the individual point as opposed to who makes the point, but one way or the other, even when I don't agree with them, they still make very informed videos, or at the very least, they're very philosophically sound. And here's the thing. Sometimes I'll go into a video that I already agree with them on prior to even watching the video. I've already done the research, I'm already well informed, so I know that this person's correct. But while watching the video, he or she is being such a jerk about it that even though prior to the video I'm agreeing with them, by the end of the video, because of the way they acted, I'm almost wishing that they were wrong. And at the end of the video, they'll say something like the reason that people don't like them or don't believe them is because they're not willing to accept the facts. And I'm sure that's the case a lot of the time. But I wouldn't be surprised if the reason was just because you were being such a jerk in that video. Now, needless to say, I'm not a big fan of these toxic videos. Now, yes, I know that it is the internet. These kinds of things will exist on the internet. I'm not ignorant to that. But the problem is it's getting to the point where it's next to impossible to find a video on a topic that people disagree on at this kind of level that is not extremely toxic. It doesn't matter what side you're on. Now, me personally, when I look at a new idea or a new controversial thought, I like to look at both sides of the argument, and I encourage you to do the same. But it's very hard to absorb the information from these, again, very, very intellectual and researching people when they're just making these videos this hard to sit through to the point where you almost want them to be wrong regardless of what side of the argument they're on. Now look, of course, they're kind of making these videos, I'm sure, either because they're really fed up with whatever side they're talking about, or because people who already do agree with them will just continue to watch these videos. And can I just encourage that they don't do that? I mean, look, here's the thing. I was able to find a video critiquing Adam. It was from a YouTuber called Dr. Mike. Now, from what I've researched, it seems that he is a legitimate doctor, but like always, make sure to fact check whatever he says if you decide to watch his videos. I, of course, will leave my resources and his channel down in the description below. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure he has no idea that I exist, but that's besides the point. The point is that he was able to make a critical video of one of Adam's episodes, medically based, of course, but he wasn't a jerk about it. And here's the thing. When I found this, I was just so in shock that somebody was able to critique Adam and not be a jerk. Like, it got to the point where when I found this video, I almost felt like I had struck gold or diamond or something extremely rare, because I was able to find a video that critiques Adam, and it was just constructive criticism on how Adam could improve his videos. And then, get this, Adam had seen his video and tweeted his counter-argument and respectfully disagreeing with the constructive criticism. And I was just like, oh my gosh, they were able to, like, have a somewhat debate, and they weren't jerks to each other. Now, I do think, judging by the tweet that I saw, Adam did kind of miss the point in my personal opinion. But then, he made another video giving his counter-argument like a normal person. And frankly, he's a pretty well-off YouTuber. So, look, I'm not here to take down anybody's channel or tell anybody to boycott these channels unless somebody's doing something like threatening somebody else's life on a channel or something along those lines. I'm not really here to do that to any other channels. But if you are one of those channels, and on the off chance that you watch this video, which isn't too likely because admittedly you're probably much larger than I am, but if you do see this video, could you please just like give your argument? I would enjoy your videos so much more, and I'd be able to learn so much more from them if you did that. And if you're somebody who watches these videos, because of course, like I said, they're very intelligent people who have well-made arguments, or at the very least a good philosophical basis. But if you watch these videos, I encourage you to leave a comment saying, hey, I like your videos, but could you maybe make it a little bit more constructive as opposed to just really hostile? Alright guys, that's it for this video. I really appreciate you guys sitting through it. My next video will be the Sunday after next. And until then, hear nothing and listen to all. Bye guys.